What up, and welcome to Swimming Through the Void. This will be a reading from the Chandogya Upanishad, which is one of the longer ones. So I will have to at some point stop this recording and restart from wherever we leave off, just so you know, if you see me just reaching up to turn the camera off, what's going on. I actually just got done reading the Ganesh chapter of that Invoke the Gods book, from which we read that Krishna chapter out of last night, and I got done with it, and I updated my sound program today, and something was a little off, something was tweaked, and so the sound was messed up. So I decided to fix that and grab the Upanishads, and we will do that reading another time. So let's get it. Let us meditate on Om, the imperishable, the beginning of prayer. For as the earth comes from the waters, plants from the earth, and man from plants, so man is speech, and speech is Om. Of all speech, the essence is the Rig Veda, but the Sama is the essence of Rig, and of the Sama, the essence is Om. The Udgita. This is the essence of essences, the highest, the eighth rung, venerated above all that human beings hold holy. Om is the self of all. What is Rig? What is Sama at the heart of prayer? As Rig is speech, so Sama is song, and the imperishable Om is the Udgita. Speech and breath, Sama and Rig, are couples, and in the imperishable Om, they come together to fulfill each other's desire. For those who, knowing this, meditate on the imperishable Om, all desires are fulfilled. With the word Om, we say, I agree, and fulfill desires. With Om, we recite, we give direction, we sing aloud the honor of that word, the key to the three kinds of knowledge. Side by side, those who know the self and those who know it not do the same thing, but it is not the same. The act done with knowledge, with inner awareness and faith, grows in power. That, in a word, tells the significance of Om, the indivisible. Chapter 3. The wisdom of Shandilya. The universe comes forth from Brahman, exists in Brahman, and will return to Brahman. Verily, all is Brahman. A person is what his deep desire is. It is our deepest desire in this life that shapes the life to come. So let us direct our deepest desires to realize the self. Excuse me. Drop some more frankincense on this coal. I'm actually going to get a little bit out and put it over here. The self, who can be realized by the pure in heart, who is life, light, truth, space, who gives rise to all works, all desires, all odors, all tastes, who is beyond words, who is joy abiding. This is the self dwelling in my heart. Smaller than a grain of rice, smaller than a grain of barley, smaller than a mustard seed, smaller than a grain of millet, even smaller than the kernel of a grain of millet is the self. This is the self dwelling in my heart, greater than the earth, greater than the sky, greater than all the worlds. This self who gives rise to all worlds, all desires, all odors, all tastes, who pervades the universe, who is beyond words, who is joy abiding, who is ever present in my heart, is Brahman indeed. To him I shall attain when my ego dies. So said Chandogya, so said Chandogya. Chapter 4. The story of Satyakama. Mother, Satyakama said, I feel the time has come for me to go to the home of a spiritual teacher. From whom does our family come, so that I may tell him when he asks my lineage? I do not know, dear, she replied. You were born when I was young and going from place to place as a servant. Your name is Satyakama and my name is Jabala. Why not call yourself Satyakama Jabala? Satyakama went to Haridramara Gautama and said to him, Sir, I want to become your disciple. What family are you from, bright one? Sir, I do not know. My mother says she bore me in her youth and does not know my ancestry. She says that since my name is Satyakama and hers is Jabala, I should call myself Satyakama Jabala. None but a true Brahmin could have said that. Fetch the firewood, my boy. I will initiate you. You have not flinched from the truth. He selected 400 lean and sickly cows and gave them to Satyakama to care for. I shall not return, the boy said to himself, until they become 1,000. For years, Satyakama dwelt in the forest, tending the herd. Then, one day, the bull of the herd said to him, Satyakama. Sir, he replied, we have become 1,000. Let us now rejoin our teacher's family, and I will tell you one of the 4 feet of Brahman. Please tell me, revered sir, the boy said. There are 4 quarters, east, west, south, and north. This is 1 foot of Brahman called the Shining. To meditate on these 4 is to become full of light and master the resplendent regions of the cosmos, knowing this portion of the truth. Agni, fire, will tell you more. The next day, Satyakama set out for his teacher's house with the herd. Toward evening, he made a fire, penned the cows, and sat by the fire facing east. The fire spoke. Satyakama. Sir? Friend, I can teach you another foot of Brahman. Please do, revered sir. There are 4 quarters, earth, sky, heaven, and ocean. This is 1 foot of Brahman, called without end. Know this, meditate on this reality, and your life will be without end on this earth. A swan will tell you more. The next day, Satyakama drove the cows onward. Toward evening, he lit a fire, penned the cows, and sat by the fire facing east. Then a swan flew near and said, Satyakama. Sir? Friend, I can teach you another foot of Brahman. Please do, revered sir. There are 4 quarters, fire, the sun, the moon, and lightning. These make 1 foot of Brahman called full of light. To meditate on this 4-fold foot of truth is to be filled with light in this world and master the world of light. A diver bird will tell you more. The next day, Satyakama drove the cows onward. Toward evening, he lit a fire, penned the cows, and sat by the fire, facing east. Then a diver bird flew near and spoke to him. Satyakama. Sir? Friend, I can teach you another foot of Brahman. Please do, revered sir. There are 4 parts: breath, eye, ear, and mind. This is 1 foot of Brahman called established. To meditate on this 4-fold foot of Brahman is to be at home in this world and master space. Whoever knows this 4-fold foot of Brahman is called established. So Satyakama returned to his teacher's home. Satyakama, his teacher called, you glow like one who has known the truth. Tell me, who has taught you? Satyakama replied, no human, sir, but I wish to hear the truth from you alone. For I have heard that only the teacher's wisdom comes to fruition for us. Then his teacher taught Satyakama that same wisdom. Nothing was left out from it. Nothing was left out. Chapter 6. The story of Shvetaketu. Shvetaketu was Uddalaka's son. When he was 12, his father said to him, it's time for you to find a teacher, dear one, for no one in our family is a stranger to the spiritual life. So, Shvetaketu went to a teacher and studied all the Vedas for 12 years. At the end of this time, he returned home, proud of his intellectual knowledge. You seem to be so proud of all this learning, said Uddalaka, but did you ask your teacher for that spiritual wisdom which enables you to hear the unheard, think the unthought, and know the unknown? What is that wisdom, father? Asked the son. Uddalaka said to Shvetaketu, as by knowing 1 lump of clay, dear one, we come to know all things made out of clay, that they differ only in name and form, while the stuff of which all are made is clay. As by knowing 1 gold nugget, dear one, we come to know all things made out of gold, that they differ only in name and form, while the stuff of which all are made is gold. As by knowing 1 tool of iron, dear one, we come to know all things made out of iron, that they differ only in name and form, while the stuff of which all are made is iron. So through that spiritual wisdom, dear one, we come to know that all of life is one. My teachers must not have known this wisdom, said Shvetaketu, for if they had known, how could they have failed to teach it to me? Please instruct me in this wisdom, father. Yes, dear one, I will, replied his father. In the beginning was only being, one without a second. Out of himself he brought forth the cosmos and entered into everything in it. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Please, Father, tell me more about this self. Yes, dear one, I will, Uddalaka said. Let us start with sleep. What happens in it? When one is absorbed in dreamless sleep, he is one with the self, though he knows it not. We say he sleeps, but he sleeps in the self. As a tethered bird grows tired of flying about in vain to find a place of rest, and settles down at last on its own perch, so the mind, tired of wandering about hither and thither, settles down at last in the self, dear one, to which it is bound. All creatures, dear one, have their source in him. He is their home. He is their strength. When a person departs from this world, dear one, his speech merges in mind, his mind in prana, prana in fire, and fire in pure being. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything, he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Please tell me, Father, more about this self. Yes, dear one, I will, Uddalaka said. As bees suck nectar from many a flower and make their honey one, so that no drop can say, I am from this flower or that. All creatures, one, know that they are one. All creatures know that they are that one. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything, he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Please, Father, tell me more about this self. Yes, dear one, I will, Uddalaka said. As the rivers flowing east and west merge into the sea and become one with it, forgetting that they were ever separate rivers, so do all creatures lose their separateness when they merge at last into pure being. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything, he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Please, Father, tell me more about this self. Yes, dear one, I will, Uddalaka said. Strike at the root of a tree, it would bleed, but still live. Strike at the trunk, it would bleed, but still live. Strike at the top, it would bleed, but still live. The self as life supports the tree, which stands firm and enjoys the nourishment it receives. If the self leaves one branch, that branch withers. If it leaves a second, that too withers. If it leaves a third, that again withers. Let it leave the whole tree. The whole tree dies. Just so, dear one, when death comes and the self departs from the body dies, but the self does not. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything, he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Please, Father, tell me more about this self. Yes, dear one, I will, Uddalaka said. Bring me a fruit from the Nyogradha, from the Nyagrota tree. Here it is, sir. Break it. What do you see? The seeds, Father, all exceedingly small. Break one. What do you see? Nothing at all. That hidden essence you do not see, dear one. From that a whole Nyagrota tree will grow. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything, he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Please, Father, tell me more about this self. Yes, dear one, I will, Uddalaka said. Place this salt in water and bring it here tomorrow morning. The boy did. Where is the salt? His father asked. I do not see it. Sip here. How does it taste? Salty, Father. And here? And there? I taste salt everywhere. It is everywhere, though we see it not. Just so, dear one, the self is everywhere, within all things, although we see him not. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything, he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Please, Father, Tell me more about this self. Yes, dear one, I will, Uddalaka said. As a man from Gandhara, blindfolded, led away and left in a lonely place, turns to the east and the west and north and south and shouts, I am left here and cannot see, until one removes his blindfold and says, there lies Gandhara, follow that path, and thus informed, able to see for himself, the man inquires from village to village and reaches his homeland at last. Just so, my son, one who finds an illumined teacher attains to spiritual wisdom in the self. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything, he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Please, Father, tell me more about this self. Yes, dear one, I will, Uddalaka said. When a man is dying, his family all gather around and ask, do you know me? Do you know me? And so long as his speech has not merged in mind, his mind in prana, prana in fire, and fire in pure being, he knows them all. But there is no more knowing when speech merges in mind, mind in prana, prana in fire, and fire in pure being. There is nothing that does not come from him. Of everything, he is the inmost self. He is the truth. He is the self-supreme. You are that, Shvetaketu. You are that. Then Shvetaketu understood this teaching. Truly, he understood it all. Chapter 7. Narada's Education. Narada, approaching the sage, Sanat Kumara, and said, please teach me, Venerable One. Tell me what you know, replied the sage, and then I will teach you what is beyond that. I know the 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva, and the epics called the 5th. I have studied grammar, rituals, mathematics, astronomy, logic, economics, physics, psychology, the fine arts, and even snake charming, but all this knowledge has not helped me to know the self. I have heard from spiritual teachers like you that one who realizes the self goes beyond sorrow. I am lost in sorrow. Please teach me how to go beyond. Whatever you know is just words, said Sanat Kumara. Names of finite phenomena. It is the infinite that is the source of abiding joy, because it is not subject to change. Therefore, seek to know the infinite. I seek to know the infinite, Venerable One. Where one realizes the indivisible unity of life, sees nothing else, hears nothing else, knows nothing else, that is the infinite. Where one sees separateness, hears separateness, knows separateness, that is the finite. The infinite is beyond death, but the finite cannot escape death. On what does the infinite depend, Venerable One? On its own glory. No, not even on that. In the world, people think they can attain glory by having cows and horses, elephants and gold, family and servants, fields and mansions, but I do not call that glory, for here one thing depends on another. Utterly independent is the infinite. The infinite is above and below, before and behind, to the right and to the left. I am all of this. The self is above and below, before and behind, to the right and to the left. I am all of this. One who meditates upon the self and realizes the self sees the self everywhere and rejoices in the self. Such a one lives in freedom and is at home wherever he goes. But those who pursue the finite are blind to the self and they live in bondage. One who meditates upon and realizes the self discovers that everything in the cosmos, energy and space, fire and water, name and form, birth and death, mind and will, word and deed, mantram and meditation, all come from the self. The self is one, though it appears to be many. Those who meditate upon the self and realize the self go beyond decay and death, beyond separateness and sorrow. They see the self in everyone and obtain all things. Control the senses and purify the mind. In a pure mind, there is constant awareness of the self. Where there is a constant awareness of the self, freedom ends bondage and joy ends sorrow. Thus, the sage Sanatkumara taught the pure Narada to go beyond bondage, beyond sorrow, beyond darkness, to the light of the self. So I'm going to cut it here, and I will be back in just a second, y'all. We back. Going into the next chapter, chapter 8. The city of Brahman. In the city of Brahman is a secret dwelling, the lotus of the heart. Within this dwelling is a space, and within that space is the fulfillment of our desires. What is within that space should be longed for and realized. As great as the infinite space beyond is the space within the lotus of the heart. Both heaven and earth are contained in that inner space, both fire and air, sun and moon, lightning and stars. Whether we know it in this world or know it not, everything is constrained in that inner space. Never fear that old age will invade that city. Never fear that this inner treasure of all reality will wither and decay. This knows no age when the body ages. This knows no dying when the body dies. This is the real city of Brahman. This is the self, free from old age, from death, and from grief, hunger, and thirst. In the self, all desires are fulfilled. And Brahman is just another word for God, okay? Formless God is Brahman. The self desires only what is real, thinks nothing but what is true. Here, people do what they're told, becoming dependent on their country or their piece of land or the desires of another. So the desires are not fulfilled and their works come to nothing, both in this world and in the next. Those who depart from this world without knowing who they are and what they truly desire have no freedom here or thereafter. But those who leave here knowing who they are and what they truly desire have freedom everywhere, both in this world and in the next. Would they see their departed mother or father? Lo, they see them and are happy. Would they see their family and friends? Lo, they see them and are happy. Would they enjoy the world of music, of spring flowers, of elegance? Lo, by their mere will they enjoy these things. Whatever they desire, the object of that desire arises from the power of their own thoughts. They have it and are happy. Here, our selfless desires are hidden by selfish ones. They are real, but they are covered by what is false. Therefore, whoever of our own departs from this life, not one can ever be brought back before our eyes, but all those we love, alive or departed, and all things we desire, but do not have, are found when we enter that space within the heart, for there abide all desires that are true, though covered by what is false. This is facts. Like strangers in an unfamiliar country, walking over a hidden treasure day by day, we enter the world of Brahman while in deep sleep, but we never find it, carried away by what is false. The self is hidden in the lotus of the heart. Those who see themselves in all creatures go day by day into the world of Brahman, hidden in the heart. Established in peace, they rise above body consciousness to the supreme light of the self. Immortal, free from fear, this self is Brahman, called the true. Beyond the mortal and the immortal, he binds both worlds together. Those who know this live day after day in heaven in this very life. The self is a bulwark against the confounding of these worlds and a bridge between them. Day and night cannot cross that bridge. Day and night cannot cross that bridge, nor old age, nor death, nor grief, nor evil, nor good deeds. All evils turn back there, unable to cross. Evil comes not into this world of Brahman. One who crosses by this bridge, if blind, is blind no more. If hurt, ceases to be hurt. If in sorrow, ceases sorrowing. At this boundary, night itself becomes day. Night comes not into the world of Brahman. Only those who are pure and self-controlled can find this world of Brahman. That world is theirs alone. In that world, in all the worlds, they live in perfect freedom. And this is the same as in the Holy Bible. The kingdom of heaven is within. And in order to get to the kingdom, right, we must repent. And repenting literally just means not to sin. And when we are sinning in this context would be believing yourself to be an ego, being stuck down in your lower three chakras. That's sinning when we're eating foods that are basically poisoning our temple, when we are thinking thoughts that are basically poisoning our temple, and when we are speaking words that are not only poisoning our temple, but poisoning everything around us as well. So to repent would be only those who are pure and self-controlled. Repenting would be purifying yourself and controlling yourself. The gods and the godless. The great teacher Prajapati said, "The self is pure, free from decay and death, free from hunger and thirst, and free from sorrow. The self desires nothing that is not good, wills nothing that is not good. Seek and realize this self. Those who seek and realize the self fulfill all their desires and attain the goal supreme." Excuse me, y'all. The Devas and the Asuras, the gods and the godless, heard this truth and said, "Let us seek and realize the self so that we may fulfill all our desires." So Indra, from among the gods, and Virochana, from among the godless, approached Prajapati, carrying fuel in their hands as a sign that they wanted to become his disciples. They dwelt with him for 32 years, and at the end of that time, Prajapati asked why they had stayed with him so long. Indra and Virochana replied, "We have heard your inspiring words. We have heard of your inspiring words. The self is pure, free from decay and death, free from hunger and thirst, and free from sorrow. The self desires nothing that is not good, wills nothing that is not good. Seek and realize this self. Those who seek and realize this self fulfill all their desires and attain the goal supreme. We have been living here as your disciples because we want to realize the self." Prajapati said to them, "When you look into another's eyes, what you see is the self. fearless and deathless. That is Brahman, the Supreme. Venerable One asked the two disciples, what is it we see reflected in the water or in a mirror? It is the self you see in all these, he said to them. Now look at yourself in a bowl of water and ask me anything you want to learn about the self. They looked at themselves in a bowl of water. What do you see in the water? We have seen the self, even the hair and the nails. Put on your best clothes, adorn your body, and look again into the water. They did so and came back to Prajapati. What did you see in the water? He asked. We've seen the self, well dressed and well adorned, they replied. That is the self, fearless and deathless. That is Brahman, the Supreme. Indra and Virochana went away satisfied, but Prajapati said to himself, they have seen the self, but they have not recognized the self. They mistake the self to be the body. Those who think the self is the body will lose their way in life. That's one of the main things I am saying. I just went on a little rant in one of my astrology groups earlier. And that's another thing. I'm always telling people to look up their chart, but what I say underlying that, it's the chart is not you. Your birth chart is not you. What it is a blueprint of your soul, right? And your soul is not even you. You are pure spirit. Your soul is an accumulation of memories and attachments from your past lives, from the past. And this is the whole objective of yoga, is to yoke yourself, to bring yourself in union with your true self, to realize that you are not the body, that you are not your mind, your thoughts, that you are not your emotions, you are not even your soul at the end of the day. And going into deep meditation, practicing right life, and the mantras and the yoga it's only a way to transcend your mind, right? To realize the self. I sort of got to cheat during my Saturn return when I died and when I left my body, because I came back into my body with this knowing, and then day by day, my higher self, God, my spirit, source, whatever you want to call it, my angels, my ancestors, guided me step by step, just like they were holding my hand, to be able to find literature like this and different teachings and different techniques to not only keep myself grounded in this truth, but also to help explain it and, to sort of open this door to be able to help others realize this truth as well. So I often say that some of the worst stuff that we go through, the hardest times, they really truly are blessings. I can honestly say that every hard time I have been through in my life has truly been a bigger blessing than something like winning the lottery. Most people would consider a blessing. To be honest, that's just going to pacify you and get you caught in this world and in your ego, and further caught in this matrix or illusion that we are incarnated in right now. And so I believe it says in the Bible as well that when you're persecuted and when you are going through rough times, to rejoice. And this is truly why they say to rejoice during these times, because you're shedding what is no longer you. You are realizing the truth. You're realizing the self, and building character along your journey. Fun fact about the word character, I do believe the etymology of that stems from a word that means to chisel, right? And you think about people chiseling into marble, into harder stones and stuff like that, and making beautiful sculptures. It really is sort of similar to how we chisel all of this extra BS, all of these attachments and trauma from our soul, as it chisels away and just reveals the most beautiful, dazzling light, the most unexplainable bliss and peace that you could ever imagine. And then your life truly becomes a blessing in every aspect. Like I was saying in that Krishna reading yesterday, I'm taking out the trash. I'm happy. I am changing a dirty diaper. I am happy. I am whistling through the stores on grocery shopping day and humming mantras. And, people can feel that. It's truly contagious. And so I feel like even being a part of this collective, even being in that energy, it speaks volumes as to where you're at in your journey, and really says that you are awakening, that you are discovering truth, you are growing, ascending, transcending. So it's a beautiful thing, y'all. Those who think the self is the body will lose their way in life. Virochana, quite sure that the self is the body, went back into the godless and began to teach them that the body alone is to be saved. The body alone is to be adored. He taught them that whoever lives for indulging the senses will find joy in this world and the next. Even today, people are called godless when they lack faith, love, and charity, because that is the way of the godless. They dress even dead bodies in fine clothes and adorn them with ornaments so that they may enjoy their life in the next world. But Indra, as he went on his way home to the gathering of the gods, began to question this knowledge. If the self is the same as the body, well dressed, when the body is well dressed, well adorned, when the body is well adorned, then the self will be blind when the body is blind, lame when the body is lame, lame when the body is lame, paralyzed when the body is paralyzed, and when the body dies, the self too will die. In such knowledge, I see no value. Again, Indra went back to Prajapati with fuel in hand. Why have you returned, Indra? His teacher asked. Did you not go away quite satisfied? Venerable one, replied Indra, if the self is well dressed when the body is well dressed, well adorned when the body is well adorned, then the self will be blind when the body is blind, lame when the body is lame, and paralyzed when the body is paralyzed. And when the body dies, the self too will die. In such knowledge I see no value. You are thinking clearly, Indra, said Prajapati. Live with me for another 32 years, and I will teach you more of the self. So Indra lived with Prajapati for another 32 years. Then Prajapati said to him, that which moves about in joy in the dreaming state is the self, fearless and deathless. That is Brahman, the supreme. Indra went away satisfied, but on his way home to the gathering of the gods, he began to question this knowledge. In the dreaming state, it is true. The self is not blind when the body is blind, nor lame when the body is lame, nor paralyzed when the body is paralyzed, nor slain when the body is slain. Yet, in dreams, the self may appear to suffer and to be slain. It may become conscious of pain and even weep. In such knowledge, I see no value. Again, Indra went back to Prajapati with fuel in hand. Why have you returned, Indra? Did you not go away quite satisfied? Venerable one, replied Indra, in the dreaming state it is true. The self is not blind when the body is blind, nor lame when the body is lame. Yet, in this state, the self may still suffer and even weep. In such knowledge, I see no value. You are thinking clearly, Indra, said Prajapati. Live with me for another 32 years, and I will teach you more of the self. Indra lived with Prajapati for another 32 years. Then his teacher said, when a person is sleeping soundly, free from dreams, and with a still mind, that is the self, fearless and deathless. That is Brahman, the self-supreme. Indra went away satisfied, but on his way home to the gathering of the gods, he began to question this knowledge. In the state of dreamless sleep, one is not aware of oneself or any other. The state of dreamless sleep is very close to extinction. In this knowledge, I see no value. Again, Indra went back to Prajapati with fuel in hand. Why have you returned, Indra? Did you not go away quite satisfied? Venerable one, replied Indra, in the state of dreamless sleep, one is not aware of oneself or of any other. The state of dreamless sleep is very close to extinction. In this knowledge, I see no value. You're thinking clearly, Indra, said Prajapati. Live with me for another 5 years, and I will teach you to realize the self. Indra lived with Prajapati for another 5 years. Altogether, he lived with his teacher for 101 years, which is why people say even Indra had to live with his teacher for 101 years. After that time, Prajapati revealed the highest truth of the self to Indra. Is it true the body is perishable, but within it dwells the imperishable self? This body is subject to pleasure and pain. No one who identifies with the body can escape from pleasure and pain, but those who know they are not the body pass beyond pleasure and pain to live in abiding joy. Like the wind, like the clouds, like the thunder and lightning, which rise from the space without physical shape and reach the transcendent light in their own form, those who rise above body consciousness ascend to the transcendent light in their real form, the self. In that state, free from attachment, they move at will, laughing, playing, and rejoicing. They know the self is not the body, but only tied to it for a time as an ox is tied to its cart. Whenever one sees, smells, speaks, hears, or thinks, they know it is the self that sees, smells, speaks, hears, and thinks. The senses are but his instruments. Worshipping this self in the world of Brahman, the gods obtained all worlds and all desires. Those who know this self and realize this self obtain all worlds and desires. So said Prajapati, so taught Prajapati. A pain of illumination. From the divine dark to the manifest, to the divine dark I pass again. As a horse shakes free its mane, I have shaken off all evil, freeing myself from the bonds of birth and death. I have freed myself, freeing myself from the bonds of birth and death, as the moon escapes from Rahu's mouth. I have attained the pure realm of Brahman. I have attained the pure realm of Brahman. Brahman is my home. I shall not lose it. Truly, I shall not be lost again. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The Lord dwells in the womb of the cosmos, the Creator who is in all creatures. He is that which is born and to be born. His face is everywhere. So I hope if you stuck around for this long, that you enjoyed this reading of the Chandogya Upanishad. Like I said, this one was a little bit longer. We don't have too many Upanishads left, y'all. Probably about a little handful of them, and then we will be done with those. And still got the Gita and the Bible that we got to dive into. So I'm really excited. Again, I hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate you. Make sure you smash that thumbs up for me. It really helps the channel. It really helps get these videos out, and it really helps get more of my videos to be able to catch these algorithms and helps grow the channel. So